Can I welcome you all to this meeting of the Council's Executive, and I'll just ask people to do introductions. So I'm David Whip and I chair the Executive as a leader of the Council. If I go to my left.
Thank you. I am Lawrence Conway and I am the Interim Chief Executive.
Howard Culshaw, Head of Legal and Democratic Services.
Councillor Lola Whip.
Councillor Andy Bell.
Councillor Dorothy Lord substituting.
Councillor Hanif. Councillor Faraz Ahmed substituting for Councillor Mohammed Iqbal. Councillor Asjad Mahmood.
Okay.
Councillor Director of Resources.
Good evening, Philip Spur, Director of Place.
Okay, and at the back there, Ash. Thank you very much. Item 1 is declarations of interest, and can I declare personal non-prejudicial interest in item 5 as a director of the Pearl joint venture? Now there's another couple of people in the room. Sarah, do you want to declare that?
I'll talk about myself, but last time this happened, I pointed out that I'm not a decision maker, I don't have a vote. I'm just a bystander really, who's perhaps might get involved in the debate.
Well, I think it's present at a meeting where a decision is taken. Howard?
Yeah, that's right, Councillor.
I'm correct in my interpretation. It's present at a meeting where a decision is taken. So are you declaring an interest? Thank you. Can I give apologies then for Councillor David Hartley, who's been substituted ably by Councillor Lord, and Councillor Hartley is in Canada with relatives. Is it the G8? Yeah, it could have been. It could have been that grizzly bear, couldn't it? Thank you very much. Any further declarations of interest? Apologies, yeah, sorry, I've mentioned that. Item 2 is public question time. There is no members of the public here present, so we'll pass on then to the minutes of the last meeting. Would somebody move those? Thank you very much. Seconded is correct record. All in favour? Thank you. Pass that one along. And item 4 is taxi licensing, structure and fees. Neil Watson, who leads on this for officers, is unable to be with us tonight because of bereavement in the family. So he does send his apologies. We do have a comprehensive report, and I bet Philip is briefed to fill us in on this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I'm not going to add a great deal to the report. I hope the report is relatively self-explanatory. But basically, as members will have seen, the purpose of the report is to give a recommendation to full council with regard to the level of fees and to note a revised staffing structure for the taxi licensing service. There's commentary in the report with regard to the mechanism around fee setting and some commentary in terms of demand on the service and increasing number of drivers and licensed vehicles. There's also reference to Uber recently coming into the borough, and on page 3 at section 9 and 10 details of the revised staffing structure, and then some commentary at section 12 on the fee proposals. I'll keep it as simple and straightforward as that, Chair, if that's okay.
Thank you very much. So the report does set out the strengthening of the staff structure and a commensurate increase in the fees in order to cover the additional work that will be carried out. Councillor Lola Whip.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, happy to move the recommendations.
Thank you very much. That's seconded.
I've actually got a couple of questions, if they can be answered. In the table 1 to table 4, you're saying proposed fees, existing fees, but when I'm looking at these, majority of these are actually a reduction in pricing rather than an increase. If it's mentioned earlier about increasing the prices with inflation, but I'm looking at these where majority are actually a reduction.
Okay, so in table 1, it's showing a reduction for the 3-year renewals.
Yep.
And in table 2, there are reductions for new licences and renewals. So, Philip.
Yeah, I think in terms of that through yourself, Chair, I think one of the key determinants of fees is the level of demand and level of number of licensed vehicles, number of licensed drivers and so on and so forth. So there has been a significant increase in number of vehicles and number of drivers. You will see that there is an increase in staffing, but that's probably not commensurate with the increased number, increase in demand, if you like. So I think that's probably the reason why some of those fees have gone down.
It's when I'm food chair, it's like when I go to table 4, it says operators for 1 year per vehicle. 1 vehicle and then 2 to 5 vehicles is increase of between 5 and 6%. That's the operation. And then higher than that is reduction of 19%, 33%, 42%. But then table 3 vehicles for 5 years. If you've got 2 to 5 vehicles, a reduction of 6%. This is where I'm trying to find out, are we saying we need to increase staff, but we're going to reduce the cost in further licensing?
Okay. The way that taxi licensing operates is that it's not supposed to make a surplus, it's supposed to pay for itself. There isn't a proportionate increase in the officer time for doing multiple vehicles for the same operator. So the staff time for doing, I'm making this up, but the staff time for doing 4 may be the same amount of staff time for doing 40. Those are fictitious figures, but you get me drift. So it would be wrong for us to put the fees up tenfold for the larger numbers, because they're not they don't fit into the amount of staff time required. That's the best explanation I can give.
Just very brief again through yourself, Chair, if I may. Councillor Bell, as referenced at paragraph 3, basically there are a number of processes that need to be undertaken. Each of those had a notional amount of time. There is a cost that goes with that. So that's how the fee proposals are actually built up. And I think what I would say, and maybe Karen wants to come in a second, we have been through these with a fine-tooth comb on multiple occasions with colleagues in finance. I know you've been very keen to make sure that they are appropriate. I don't know if anything to add through yourself, Karen.
Yeah, all right, yeah. So the taxi licensing fees are not allowed to make a surplus, as we've said. We have to break even over a 3-year period. So there's a very, very detailed calculation behind all this, where time's allocated at each different level of staff that touch the licensing process, and this is where, and due to the increased levels of applications we've had to bring the cost down.
Okay, I've got David Coburn Price and then Asdad. David?
The answer to the math question is obviously in paragraph 6, as Karen points out there, you go from 400 to 800. You've got 800 taxi drivers active. You've got the Uber thing going as well. So of course, you know, if you divide those processes, I think as David pointed out, it'll cost all just a little bit more to do 10 or 20 than it will do 2 or 3. So you've really got that economy of scale coming in, which means that the bigger numbers come down in price. The inflation point is addressed in paragraph 13, where it says, you know, obviously everything's doing around the same, you will go up by 34%. So that would come in like that. I suppose the question is, in paragraph 50, with the Uber thing going on, it's a case that we need to review the impact of this going forward. So it's okay to say we need to recruit 1 more person at another point. And the question will be, you should have another recommendation which says that you'll review it in 6 to 12 months to assess the impact of Uber on those workloads and then obviously potentially the fee structure. And just one little typo as well, paragraph 2, recommendation 2, which should refer to paragraph 11, not paragraph 9. And just one general broad question, is there a limit on the number of licensed drivers we're going to have? Or do we just keep on going beyond 800, beyond 1,000, etc.?
For yourself, Chair, I'm not aware that there is a limit on the number of drivers.
Thank you. Just checking on your paragraph 11 rather than paragraph 9.
Paragraph 9 is the existing service level. Paragraph 11 says that you use on 0.8 FTE.
Yeah. Well, set out in paragraphs 9 to 11, I think would be the best way of doing it. Councillor Whip, are you content to...
I am,
Yeah, thank you very much. Asjad.
Thank you, Chair. Obviously, it's about the report. Happy to support the fee charges that have been presented in the report. But what I was going to propose was, and recommendation two, in addition to that, that maybe licensing and taxi licensing come together. That could potentially like reduce operating costs, and help each other with some of the training that the two departments do, and I think that would be more efficient in the long run. So that's what I was going to propose.
Okay, I think that's a separate issue, Asjad. This is a very specific issue in terms of the staffing required for taxi licensing and the fees being charged. And we have a duty to advertise these, and I think there's a consultation process to go through. So I wouldn't want to delay the matter by working other things into it that will probably take us more than a few days to sort out.
Is that something that we can take part of this process?
Well, I think that's something that we could look at during the course of this year. Yeah. Hanif?
Yeah. Just to follow, generally I believe it's a real problem. If we prove this, the fees are not a problem. But then we agree to paragraph 10, then we increase the staffing. I think the suggestion Asher is giving, that if we look at the existing staff, maybe between them they could do the work. We don't need to go and increase the staff. And that's, I think, is the issue which we're looking at. So it doesn't stop us from agreeing the prices, but if we agree here that we go for 3 full-time staff, and down the line in 6 months' time we're looking at merging, we've actually increased the cost of the staff anyway. So the purpose is we got 2. Pendle is the only place which has 2 separate licensing departments. Everywhere, most of the other places have 1 licensing and the crossover. So we got 1.5 staff in licensing, and we got 2.2 staff in taxis. If we look into how we could merge them and can some of the work be done by some of the existing staff, and then put a proposal. So that, I think, what Asa is suggesting is we agree this, then we've agreed 3 full-time staff already. So in 6 months or 3 months in our budget working group, if we discuss that, we've already got that. So that's the issue here.
Yeah. My view is that can be looked at in future. It has been looked at previously, and for good reasons hasn't been accepted. I think we've got a solid proposal in front of us which deals with the needs of the service as it is at the moment, and changes the fees accordingly. And I think we should stick with that. Councillor Lola-Whip.
Yeah, just to say the service is meant to operate at no cost to the council. So as long as it's running efficiently, there's not necessarily a great incentive to look at increasing the workload of other parts of the council, probably to the detriment of their services, for the sake of taxi licensing.
Okay. Faraz?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just the point that obviously Lola just made as well, and Councillor Hanif. If we were to, obviously the taxi licensing is working on nil profits, etc. But introducing this would obviously increase costs, wouldn't it? So how are we benefiting the council in that sense?
We can't make a profit on this service. Mm-hmm. So, as has been said, it's a balanced income and expenditure over a 3-year period. And the benefit to the council is having an efficient service that serves the people who want licences, or the people who are protected passengers who are protected by the licensing function. Philip?
Thanks, Chair. There is an increase in demand, increased number of vehicles, increased number of drivers. That will generate increased revenue, but that increased workload requires an increased level of resource to actually manage it. So basically, we are seeking consent, or proposing we put basically another 0.8 full-time equivalent into the service, but that will be covered by the increase in fees. It's regrettable that Neil's not here for very, very good reasons, but what I would say as a very general point is that Neil and the taxi licensing team have been through this with a fine-tooth comb over a number of months, and they are very, very clear that this is the level of resource that's needed for the level of demand they're currently facing.
Hanif, and then I'll bring Andy back in.
I think we all do the same thing. It's not that we know there's going to be 800, we need more staff to do the work. So that, I don't think is questionable here. What we're looking at here, what we're saying is that because we've got 2 departments under licensing, merging them could, we could consider merging them. I haven't seen any reports, you just said, David, that works with, I haven't seen any reports in the last 3 years where a review has been done of the licensing board teams, and if we merge them, what the benefits or what the pros and cons are. I've never seen nothing. If there is, could somebody email me, please? But so the figures here are fine. I don't think that's the issue here. And we understand that. What we're saying is, we agree with everything. I agree with everything, to be honest. But it's just, is it worth considering merging the 2 departments and looking there, if there is efficiencies there, and we can help you, they can work with each other and take on some of the work. If not, this will do, because we've got 800 and we're going to get more. Because some of the neighbouring boroughs, their policies are very different. So a lot of the people, and this is what a lot of the taxi drivers are coming here and getting, which is beneficial to us. We're making obviously more, whatever. But I never knew we didn't make profit. So that makes sense. Because I had the same thinking as you did. All minus. But now, we explained it makes sense.
Andy?
Yeah. I'm actually quite happy to second the motion as has been put forward, but I would like in the future that a possible looking into, like I say, an amalgamation in the future of pros and cons or feasibility. But I'm quite prepared to, as it stands, second the motion.
Thank you. I think it's important to recognise that when our new chief executive comes into force, that there will be a necessity for us to look at the whole of the staffing structure across Pendle, because we still have a gap between income and expenditure, and in order to achieve a balanced budget, we're going to have to look carefully at all the structures, and I think this is an issue where that will be part and parcel of that much wider review and attempt to get to a balanced budget. So I don't think anybody's saying no, but this is not the time to do it. Okay. It's moved and seconded. Can I see those in favour, please show? Thank you very much. That's unanimous, I think. Okay, move on to Con Market Public Realm and lift replacement. We have a comprehensive report that has come from our programme manager on this, and Philip will have an extensive highlighted report in front of him and a script to work off. But if I can introduce this by referring to the work that's gone on, when we had our shared administration previously, I was given the job of taking the Con Market Hall scheme over, and at the time we had a set of market traders who were not happy, I think, to put it politely, and we were in a position where a lot of the parameters were fixed in terms of what the scheme would look like, but nevertheless we worked with the market traders to finesse that programme, that project, and there's a significant amount of work being done in the last couple of years to get us to the point where we are. The significant change is the decision we took earlier this year to move away from residential units on the first floor and instead have business use, and in particular creative industries using that first floor. And the phrase that I coined was make it upstairs and sell it downstairs. And the nature of the operation of the market hall, which we'll be discussing in more detail later on in the meeting, is such that we didn't feel that it was compatible to have a busy market hall trading into the evening, cheek by jowl with residents on the first floor who would inevitably be complaining about noise and nuisance and really hampering the operation of the market hall in the future. So the first floor work has been included as part of that basic fit out, which it wasn't included before. Inevitably that's consumed resources because previously there would have been £1.4 million coming in from the residential development to actually pay for that first floor. So a scheme that wasn't as generously funded in the first place as one would have wished has become more and more cash-strapped as time has gone on. And there are two elements which we've got the public realm at the front, which needs renewing. My view is that that needs to be renewed to a high level, good quality materials, commensurate with, sorry, that's a big word, isn't it? To fit in with the street scening tone, the listed building opposite, and the conservation area. And there's also a question mark over whether the lift needs replacing as well. They are additional costs over and above what is budgeted, and it will be a decision for the full council in order to take those things forward. As an executive, we are asked here tonight to make a recommendation to full council as to how we proceed, and we'll come on to a resolution about that after we've had some discussion. I don't think I've stolen all your thunder there, but you can cross out any bits that I have covered off. So,
I think
Philip.
I think if I did that, Chair, I'd be crossing 95% of what I've written down here, unfortunately. So thank you for that. So very, very little to add beyond what the Chair said. So two purposes of the report: to provide executive with an update on progress at the market, and I think some of you saw that progress on the site last Friday, and hopefully you were relatively happy with progress that's been made. And second, as the Chair's mentioned, is to support a recommendation to full council with regard to additional costs for the market scheme, for the public realm, and potential for a replacement lift. Just one additional point to mention is the fact there is a figure of 165 that's quoted in the recommendations within the report. That's based upon a relatively low-cost public realm scheme. So with your agreement following debate, I think when the report goes through to full council, we'd like to put maybe a couple of options for the public realm. So the additional cost asked may actually be more than 165 in total, but obviously I'll take your steer on that. Nothing further to add, Chair.
Thank you, Philip. The report actually refers to the 165 figure providing a basic paved surface, paragraph 21, and it would certainly be my view, with the agreement of the executive, that we should indeed look at a range of options, from a basic paved surface to using high quality natural materials and anything that there might be in between, in order that we can get that satisfactory quality job that we would all wish. The other thing that I'm going to mention is I think that we ought to be tapping Lancashire County Council up, not only to do additional public realm work in Colne, but also looking at the programme of work that we've got currently between phases in Barnoldswick, Briarfield and Earby, where we've got significant amount of match funding going into it. So it'd be my intention to get a resolution to recommend council to bid ask the County Council to fund further work for the 3 existing programmes, together with public realm work, additional public realm work in Colne, and that we roll all that into a scheme that would enhance Colne considerably and extend the work that we're carrying out in those other townships as well. So I've got some speakers. I've got Councillor Bell, I've got Faraz, I've got Asgard, and I've got Councillor Lord. And yeah, over there as well. Yeah, and
absolutely. I mean, the money that's been put into the market, when we did the site visit last week, you can see the difference between what it used to look like and now, where it's a lot more lighter, a lot more spacious. And I don't want to see it put to waste, where we've got something that looks really good on the inside, and when you're outside, it looks like a basic build. We need people to actually look at it and say it looks good. I mean, one of the things I pointed out last week was you could see the stone, and then you saw the brickwork, and it was like, well, it doesn't match. I wasn't keen on it because it just completely threw it out of the picturesque view, if you like. It's just gone. But I don't want it where we've got the front of the market looking like it's just been put there, a bit of tarmac thrown down, and said thanks very much. If we put this effort that's been put in, and it's been going on for a few years, I think we should actually have a presentable, decent outside area to look at, rather than, well, just sort that out, leave all the rest of it. It's not going to look tidy. It won't look appealing. And if we're trying to get people back into the town to use the market again, to use the making, we need that footfall. And I don't really want to see, like say, just a basic job being done. I don't think it's the effort that's been put in over the last few years being put to waste, because it's all right having a great inside building and having outside looking like it's a bodge job. It's got to be done right.
Thank you. Farah?
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, obviously, listening to what Councillor Bell just said, if there's a budget of £5.5 million almost, and you're saying that the works aren't looking, presentable, it's quite shocking actually, and I'm really surprised that a bill of £5 million is put down for a market hall. Looking at the size and the scope of the building, I know there's a lot of work, and Colne is an absolute joy to drive through, especially over the last few years. A lot of efforts I've put, give credit to a lot of the Colne councillors as well, has put into Colne, and I give them a lot of credit. I usually prefer to drive through Colne now, which is avoiding the North Valley, because it's such a pleasant drive, but I'm still really confused as to the budget of £5.5 million almost to build a market hall, and there's still an outstanding need for finances, which is a clear shock to me. And I know a couple of years ago I did go over to a presentation was taking place with regards to the Colne market hall, and yeah, it was absolutely splendid to see the kind of changes, but it's just, I'm just still surprised, because I'm looking at the figures now, and I'm not a figure person, but £5.5 million for such a small project is, I'm finding very difficult to justify. But when I see that Barnfield are doing the work, it just seems to justify where the £5 million is going, but that's just my opinion.
Well, I think you're wrong about £5.5 million.
Okay.
As I understand it, the work that has currently been carried out has been carried out within an envelope of 3.5 million,
Okay.
plus some what do you call it? Facilitation works, not facilitation.
Yes, capacity funding.
Capacity funding,
yeah.
167,000.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's nowhere near the £5.5 million. And I think the 5.5 million you're referring to includes the work on the first floor,
Okay.
which would have been funded from the residential, and the residential was going to put 1.4 million in. That's not happening, so therefore the job currently is £1 million underneath the budget that there was for it originally. So it's not overspent, it's actually spent less.
Sure. No, just obviously coming back to what Councillor Bell just said as well, you know, even if it's £3.5 million is a substantial amount of money,
Yeah.
it's not a small amount of money. So you do expect to have good quality work, and you know it should be presentable inside as well as the outside. And usually it's the outside that looks absolutely glamorous for you to see what's inside. So either they're working backwards or they should be working the other way around.
Well, Faraz, I mean the scheme has changed,
Sure.
and that's fundamentally why the first floor isn't funded, and I think it's a significant achievement that we've actually got a lot of work done on the first floor within the reduced costs that were in the original budget. But if I take one step back, and I've maintained, you've not been present at previous
Sure.
executives where I've articulated this, but the whole of the levelling up work in Colne has been grossly underfunded. The totality of work, the levelling up funds, was £6.5 million, and it should have been at least £16.5 million. During the first round of LUF funding, the average allocation for applications was £16.5 million. Now, in the wisdom, the previous administration only bid for £6.5 million. And as we saw with Colne Uni, that grossly underestimated the amount of money that was needed to be invested in Colne Uni. Similarly, with the Market Hall development, that, I believe, been grossly underfunded, and I do pay regard to the work that's been done to contain the costs. In terms of the quality of work, if you'd have been able to go to the site visit last Friday, you would have seen the quality of the emerging interior space, the work that's been carried out outside. But at a previous stage in this, the funding for external work, the public realm work, was taken out, and it needs to be done.
Absolutely.
So, you know, I think the argument, if there is an argument, is to what quality is that work carried out? Because, you know, without doing something, the Market Hall will not open.
Sure.
It has to be done. I believe it ought to be done to the same standard as the rest of the work.
Absolutely. And
that we ought to be using good natural materials that fit in with the Colne Street scene. So I think you've got your figures wrong, and you know, we're actually looking at getting a quart out of the pint pot rather than spending £5.5 million. The real figures are are significantly less than that. Philip wanted to come in to respond.
No, again, Chair, I think you've covered it. I guess just as a general point, there's reference, Councillor, at paragraph 15 to the fact that we have had to do £227,000 of additional first floor works that were not part of the original specification. And I guess just as a general point, you know, we all see in our daily living, price inflation, cost inflation, certainly on construction projects, there is huge price inflation at the moment. So, if I'm able to, Chair, I would like to echo your comments about the work done by the project team to get as close as we have done, but we've not quite got there unfortunately.
Thank you.
Okay, I've got Asdad, Dot, and then Ash.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I mean, we have to do the works. Okay, the public ground works, we have to do it because that is, you know, it's a crucial way. You know, we do those works so people can access the market hall, and you know, we've been working at it for the last couple of years, and the site visit on Friday, things are beginning to kind of come together, and it has been challenging because we haven't had the kind of level of funding that was required for all the core projects, part of the Levelling Up funds. But looking at that frontage, I mean, I know this was part of the original scheme, the public ground works, and I know that probably removed. But looking at that frontage, and I think to some extent the contractor should take some responsibility where, the way you look at it, I saw it on Friday, it's the first time I've seen it, it was trashed, and they should take some responsibility. And I completely understand that, you know, there's the heavy machinery involved and all that kind of thing, but I'm sure there's ways and means of limiting the damage that has been done on that site. And it's an overspent, you know, £165,000 for, again, for us as a local authority is a huge amount of money. It's lots of, you know, we had this similar situation with Cornwall Hall. You know, we have to provide extra hundreds of thousands of pounds to bring it up to that level. It's in principle, I agree with it, we have to do it, we've got to make sure we do it. But can the contractor take some responsibility and provide some additional resources to help deliver this? And also, I know Lancashire County Council that you talked about, and potentially request the Core Town Council maybe contributing some funds as well. So, and I know Philip just talked about the price inflation, but all this kind of stuff should have been picked up by the contractors. You know?
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah, is it a reporting issue again? I don't know.
No, I think that Hanif, who's served on the market working group, I mean, I was out for a short period. I think there's been a tight grip on the finances and the project, both at council level and officer level. And I go back to the point that together with the other project in Colne, the scheme was underfunded from the get-go. And I would remind councillors that the original proposal was to provide 24 housing units, a cinema, a market hall refurbishment, the work on the 3 theatres, which to my mind was something in excess of 20-odd million pounds, and the bid was for 6.5 million. So, you know, navigating your way through something that's probably got a third of the funding or even a quarter of the necessary funding to actually fulfil those ambitions is pretty remarkable. So, you know, it's an order of magnitude different to what it should have been. I've got Dot.
Yeah. Well, obviously, there have been lots of problems. But I think once this building is finished and we're all looking at it, and I know what the problems are, but we're all looking at it, it's a half-finished building. And there's been lots of comments about it's an eyesore, it's this, it's that, it's the wrong colour, it looks like a container. And I think we're going to be, hopefully, pleasantly surprised when the whole project is eventually unveiled, with the top and the bottom. At the moment, we can only see the top, you know. So hopefully that will be okay. The frontage, I would like to see Yorkshire Stone. Can you get us any, Philip, from Yorkshire? Yorkshire Stone flags, which would fit in with the town centre. Yeah, should I mention the flower towers that I was talking about earlier? No. Yeah, right. There are some flower towers that were in the precinct, and they were put there about 20 years ago, and the flowers that they put in were in like a rainbow thing, and they swirled round and they were just stunning. They've disappeared. They've been dismantled and they've been stored somewhere. They want repairing, but I think they would look perfect there. There's two of them, the five tier. Yeah, I think they should be repaired. I think one had collapsed at one side, and put somewhere in that frontage.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very strongly of the view that any planting that there is stuff that can be moved around in order to facilitate the full use of that frontage.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure they could be adapted on wheels.
Well, I don't think moved around that readily.
No,
perhaps with a pallet truck or something like that.
Well, that's what I mean.
Yeah. We don't want every Tom, Dick and Harry wheeling street furniture down Albert Road.
Well, never mind. No, it's all right. Yeah. They certainly wouldn't be out there, would they, throughout the night? That's what I mean. That if they could be protected from being nicked.
Right. Let's deal with the detail, Doc. I mean, I think within the scheme that's envisaged, there will be planters.
I just wanted to get them used and not just tucked away somewhere and never used again.
I'm not clear why they can't be in Hartley Square, but I'll just leave that
That's
one.
where they were.
Yeah.
And so they're not anymore. But my main point is that building, and once it's finally unveiled, I think it's going to be stunning. Hopefully.
Yes. Ash.
Thank you, Chair. It's lovely to see you as a common councillor and hear such lovely things from my fellow councillors across the borough about how wonderful Colin is. So thank you for recognising your efforts that we make on a regular basis in Colin. It's something that we're incredibly proud of. This report I was sort of pleased and disappointed at the same time to see. And I'm pleased because it's about completion of projects, it's about making things right and making the building presentable in its public realm. It's the right thing to do. And I agree with what Dorothy just said, when it's unveiled. But hopefully it will be something that people will appreciate and it will grow to love it if it goes on with it. The previous incarnation of the market was not the prettiest thing in the world, but people loved it because of what it was. This is getting a complete facelift. They can look at what it is and was, and also because it's a brand new building with the function as well. Now, in terms of function, one of the most important things that I raised at the very outset of the plans for the market was the public realm, and the need to have lugging points in the ground for the external market. It was a fundamental thing that needed to be a part of the project. So when I say disappointed, the reason I'm disappointed is that hasn't already been done as a number one priority because it absolutely needs to be part of the project. So I'm disappointed, but pleased to see it putting that down before the completion of the project, and hopefully that this will receive unanimous support from all of you who will be voting, so that we can make these things is done. Now, in terms of the public realm generally, Council Whip, this building sits within your county division as a county councillor. It sits in Pendle Rural, but it's something that I sort of lobby for as a Colner and as a Colne High Street lover and campaigner. It's something that I sort of cherish and took under my wing, and I campaigned for funding for the BSIP, the Bus Service Improvement Plan. That involves quite a big project around the public realm. I think that it will be very useful with your county council hats on to lobby the county council to grapple. I agree with you that they should probably sort up for some of the external works to make good the public realm in front of the market. There was actually quite a large dip in the ground in disputed territory outside of the market where water gathered, the sets had sunken, and it caused all sorts of problems for people walking on pavement there. Now, my argument was that absolutely was the responsibility of the county council. But there were arguments about whether it was Pendlebury Council or the County Council were responsible for that area in the market. So I think that that's a task I'm hoping that you'll pick up and lobby on our behalf. Now, whilst I just put on a slightly different hat as chairman of Colne Bid, we had our monthly meeting just last night with our new manager, which was good. And one of the things that we discussed was street trees. Something that we've always been keen to see, more trees throughout Colne Town Centre. The tree line avenue at Albert Road adds absolute majesty to our town, and it's something that we would like to extend to other areas, including Pratt Road, Market Street. We would like to see more of that. And something that Colne Bid are prepared to do is support financially with some street trees, if they were required and suitable, in containers so that can be moved when needed and when relevant outside of the market. So it's something that we're more than happy to work with Pendle Council on, and I'll take that hat off and come back. Just in terms of the running of this project, I accept this project is costing more than projects often. We've seen this across Europe. We don't always get these things right as council. But beyond that, there are other issues around the cost of this. The level of fund was given, not just for Colne Market, but for the Hippodrome, the Little Theatre and the Colne Unit. Now those were independent, those projects that were independent price, outside the council agreement, like the Little Theatre and Hippodrome, came in not just on budget, but both actually slightly under budget and were delivered on time and with budget. Pendle, I believe, used both their staff and external consultants to price the project. It wasn't councillors or the administration that did that at the time of the bid. So we were reliant on their expertise. I'm not a building surveyor, I'm not a quantity surveyor, it's not something that's in my remit. I also wasn't part of the administration or the council at that time. So I had no responsibility whatsoever for pricing that project. But neither did my colleagues. Whilst they obviously bid for and lobbied for the funding, it wasn't on their head that prices were set at that level and a bid of £6.5 million was made. Now subsequently, of course, we've had COVID, we've had an energy crisis, we've had inflation spiralling out of control. These are all things that were completely outside of the control of the council. So in the words of my previous colleague, Councillor Joe Cooney, we are where we are and we need to move. So what I'm requesting from this side of the table is my colleagues on the exec, please vote wholeheartedly in favour of this important project of Colne. Let's get it done, let's deliver it for the people of Colne. It's a good value project in relation to what we think it costs. It's a great value for the people of Colne because it's delivering for them, businesses and the community. So please vote and please make this happen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ash, and thank you for your offer from the bid to pay for some of the container planters. That'd be great. I just want to reiterate that this project has come in, as we stand at the moment, significantly cheaper than what it otherwise would have been. Because if there'd have been the residential development on the first floor, that would have been, 1.4 million and probably the rest coming into the scheme, which isn't coming into the scheme. So, it isn't overspent. It's actually come in very much on budget for the work that was specified.
Sorry, Council, I'm butting in. How many offices are going to be set up upstairs?
Well, not offices as such, but the studios, craft studios, places where artisans may make things. There could be business use, but that is not the primary objective. It's more a creative quarter that will enable business startups from people who work with the hands rather than the heads, or maybe they work with both the hands and the heads. Okay. I think Anif was indicating he wanted to come in.
You know the money 1.4 million which obviously we're not using now. Have we given that back? Or
No.
Are we using that elsewhere?
No, we never had the money. The intention with the first floor was for a third party to build that out as residential units at their risk. So none of the first floor costs were included in the scheme because that was going to be part of the residential. So the decision to move away from residential and to use it for the business purposes.
If we had it, could we use some of that and use the excellent strategies which officers use to get some money out of schemes? But obviously that's not possible.
No, because it was never there in the first place apart from a developer.
Okay, thanks, Chair.
Yeah, okay. Are we moving towards coming to a decision? So the proposal is that, and this is a recommendation to the council, it's a decision for the council. So the recommendation is that the council be provided with a range of options in respect of the public realm work from the, quote, basic paved service, sorry, I can't say this, basic paved surface, as outlined in the report, through to a natural stone treatment, as Councillor Lord has referred to, and any intermediary option that there might be, that obviously could be a lesser cost. That in addition to the recommendation with regard to treatment of the public realm, that this executive to agree to request the County Council to fund further public realm work in Colne to tie in with the public realm work associated with the Market Hall development, and that we also bid for an extension of the programmes of work in Van Alswick, Briarfield and Earby to have a further phase of public realm work in those townships as well. One thing that we haven't discussed is the replacement service lift, which is included in the report. And I would suggest that we also recommend to the council that a replacement lift is included if necessary, because it may be when they put the power back on that everybody says, oh, I've got another 30 years in it. But it could be, well, it might not last for another 3. So include that in the recommendation as well. Faraz?
Yes, through the chair again, just to continue from what Councillor Ash mentioned earlier as well, and I think obviously Dorothy was very passionate about as well. So when the plans were originally made, obviously there were exterior plans as well of the market hall. So are we not working to the plans? Because the public realm...
Faraz, I could go on at length.
All right.
The original plans that were produced were a super duper, knock it all down, build it all up, have a cinema there. And I think the builders, said, well, it's going to cost you a minimum £12.5 million. How do you expect to get that for £3.5 million? And before we got a grip on the project, there were various iterations that the previous administration had looked at. to some extent, we just had to take what had been done before and tweak it, finesse it, to get it going forward. But that work has included, you know, sort of having temporary accommodation for the market traders to keep them going, rather than them being, you know, sort of thrown out onto the street, quite literally. And so when you say the original plans, I think there are various iterations of plans. And as for the cladding, which Councillor Lord referred to, I recall that the original proposals for the exterior treatment were subject to planning approval by Covenant District Committee, and there was quite a delicate dance around exactly what the colour would be, and they were deferred to the area committee because they had all the cards with the planning. So it hasn't been straightforward. I'm sorry.
With the amount of money that's been pumped into it, it's just something that's definitely worth looking forward to, and
Yeah.
well plays a big role in this, so looking forward to it.
Good. Asdad?
Yeah, I was just in relation to the lift, I mean, I think it's crucial that we have that. I think it's probably a minimum requirement anyway, so we need to make sure that's fully kind of operational.
Okay.
That gets installed there.
Yeah, very good. Right, before we put it to the vote, this is a recommendation to the full council, so we can have this debate all over again in July. However...
They can listen to the recording.
Sorry?
On the full council, all the council can listen to the
Well, but there might be other councillors who want to chip in.
What?
There might be other councillors who want to comment. Insofar as the project, I think it has been very well managed. The project management has been excellent, and the monitoring too has been spot on, and the council has been pretty agile in the strategic change of the use of the first floor. And as we'll discuss later in the meeting, we're talking about the operator. We've probably got a recipe for an absolutely excellent facility in a town that will welcome it with open arms, and will have something that we'll all be very, very proud of. And for us, it'll come in over £1 million cheaper than it would have otherwise done.
Brilliant, that's good.
Okay. So, can I put this recommendation to the vote then? All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. That's unanimous. Right. We're going to go on now. We've got the forward plan, which is set out. And I keep meaning to pay a lot more attention to this so that we can actually put stuff in that we want for the various meetings. But July is very busy, and I think we've probably got enough to swallow in that one. David. Sorry, David, I didn't quite pick that up.
I couldn't hear either.
On the work programme,
Yes.
all the items are on tonight's agenda, apart from consultation response to the proposed changes to the planning system.
Okay, I've got Councillor Lola Whip to respond on that.
Yeah, Neil just couldn't get it in time for the agenda going out for this meeting, so it's on next month's agenda.
Okay, can we know the forward plan? Thank you very much. And we're going on to talk about the Combe Market Operator procurement, and because this includes commercially confidential material, it's something that we have to exclude press and public for. So can I thank anybody that's been watching the meeting online or will watch it in the future. Thank you very much for for paying attention to what we're doing. Would somebody move exclusion of press and public?
Yeah, move that, yeah.
Moved and seconded. Those in favour, please show. That's carried. So we'll say good night and we'll go into private session. Thank you.